This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And if you're planning a trip to Walt Disney World or perhaps Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, these are all things and places that MEI and Mouse Fan Travel specializes in. They've had a lot of experience with all these destinations. So while you might be an expert at Walt Disney World like Newell, you don't know anything about Disneyland, Adventures by Disney. So they can help you plan your next trip over there or even to Walt Disney World. They can help you out over there and make it a lot easier on yourself. So why not give them a try? Visit them online at www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, July 8th, 2009, and this is episode 588 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. And Mike, it's July 8th, and this is episode 588.
Yes.
Ooh, spooky.
Okay. Is it August 8th, too?
Yeah, that would have been really good. Too bad it's not, too bad we missed that. Anyway.
Bad timing.
You blew up my spot, I guess, on that one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature and writer for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
I'm a senior feature. Matt, I've been working on the robot all the livelong day, and hey, what are you looking at?
That would be Star Tours.
That would be correct.
It's on the queue line over there.
Wait, I've been working on the what?
I've been working on the robot all the livelong day, and hey, what are you looking at?
I thought it was the same droid. I've been working on the same droid. I gotta look.
I don't know. I gotta look it up. Also joining us on today's show is Michelle Scribner McLean of allears.net. Michelle, I don't have a cool title for you from Deb yet, so that's all you get. Sorry.
I'm a senior feature writer.
Senior feature writer.
Yeah, and co-captain of Team All Ears.
I gotta have Deb write off on that, so hold on a second.
Boom, boom, pow. You didn't say boom, boom, pow. Whatever that is.
Boom, boom,
Boom,
pow.
boom, pow.
Boom, boom, pow. That's our theme song. Hello,
Anyway.
gentlemen.
It's Wednesday, and we're answering your listener questions. And we're going to start out with a question from George from Fort Myers, who writes, "Hello, Matt, Mike, and Len. Greetings and salutations. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I called in on a recent live show and asked if you could use the 10% annual pass discount pass along with your as well as the birthday ticket that you get for your birthday towards the price of an annual pass. I emailed Disney, and here's the response. On the day you get your birthday ticket, take your 10% pass along... take your 10% pass along saving card to one of the guest relations window at any of our 4 theme parks or Downtown Disney. Guest relations is the only area that will be able to assist you with it, blah, 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 and give you 10% off along with the birthday ticket. I don't think you actually... So he writes, so there's your answer. These pass along saving cards are good until July 31st. So if any listeners have one of these cards and their birthday falls before July 31st, then they can save a lot of money and even have a chance and even not even have to change their car insurance. Great show. Keep up the great work. I butchered that email, but it was still funny. Also, the next email is also joining us on today's show is Colin Sherwood of Redditch, United Kingdom. Writes, we're off to Walt Disney World in August for 2 weeks, and we'll be staying at Port Orleans Resort French Quarter.
Nice.
It's the first time staying on site, and I am aware we can use all the free Disney transportation. However, I am intended to hire a car once we were at the resort to enable us to go off the world for 4 or 5 days, as it's cheaper than using a taxi. I read on one of the forums that Alamo will collect and drop off at the Disney resorts for car hire, but I cannot find the information on the Alamo site. Can you confirm this is the case? Yes. Car hire, of course, is Brit talk for rental car. That's how we Americans speak proper English. No. And yes, you can. Alamo will come pick you up. You just give them a call, and they're at the...
Alamo picks you up?
Or is it Enterprise? Which is the one? No.
Enterprise picks you up.
No, I think it was... I know that's the slogan, but the Alamo's at the AAA car care center.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, because I remember for my wedding, I had people staying on property, and they were on Disney property, but they wanted to rent a car. I told them they'll need it for like 1 day, so I told them we'll just go to call Alamo over there, and they'll come pick you up. Which is, I think Enterprise also does. I think they're both owned by the same company.
They only pick up on property?
Yeah, on property.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's nice if you're if you're at the Magic Kingdom and you finish up your day over there and you want to get your car, for that night and then for a couple days, it's cool. So it's a nice little option. Also, if you get your car serviced at AAA over there at the car care center, let's say you blow out your engine, it's going to take a couple hours or whatever it may be. You need new tires. They'll actually drop you off at one of the parks while you wait.
Here's a little a little bit of trivia. What attraction does Alamo Rent-A-Car sponsor?
The TTA.
Very good. Very good.
Blowing off my guns over here.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Colin also writes, also, do you have any time-saving tips for renting a car, as we do not want to spend time in the rental office when the kids will want to maximize park time? Scopa?
It's very simple. You need to join one of the special clubs that all of the car rental agencies offer. They're usually free. I think they're all free. For instance, National has Emerald Club, and I think, Michelle, do you know what the dollar one is called?
It's Fastlane. Yeah, they have a special line.
Fastlane.
And even when I haven't booked with through Fastlane, because I have a free card, I get into that line anyway, and they honor it.
Yeah. I think the only company that charges is Hertz. They have the Gold Club. But I think they have like a junior one that's free, but it's not as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're right, Mike. Almost all the other companies have free programs, and it's absolutely a wonderful perk. Next email is from Jennifer from Alabama. Who writes, hi, guys. Love your show. It gives me my nearly daily Disney fix. I have a couple questions I thought you guys would know. We'll be traveling with a vegetarian in our party of 4. Boy, I wish we had a vegetarian on this show. The rest of us would like
Hey, you do.
Oh, okay.
Scopa, when did you become a vegetarian?
Yeah, Mike.
Wow.
Mike Soy Scopa. Anyway, the rest, they have a vegetarian in the party of 4. The rest of us would like to try the Garden Grill and or Ohana's. These meals are both very meat-centric. Will they provide a vegetarian entree, or is she expected to make do with the sides?
Well, even at Le Cellier, I was able to get a vegetarian entree. If you ask anywhere on property and just say, all of us are vegetarians, one of us is a vegetarian, usually they'll accommodate. And many times I've been with meat eaters, and my vegetarian meal will come out and they'll say, hey, I wish that was on the menu. So I would just ask. I remember we ate at Ohana once as a group, and I was able to get plenty of vegetarian food there.
Cool. So there you go. Just asking ye shall receive.
Definitely.
Jennifer also writes, we're also looking into planning our 2010 trip soon. The two options are Thanksgiving week and the last week in May. I know both of these are busy, and we're pros when it comes to the world and have traditionally gone on spring break, so we're used to the non-fast pass waits of 1 to 2 hours. Exactly how crazy is Thanksgiving? Would we be better off in early summer? There are 4 adults, all of us in our early 20s, by the way. Scopa, what are your thoughts on Thanksgiving? I don't think it's as usual. It's busy, but it's not like July 4th, Christmas, or anything like that.
I think you're right, Matt. It's almost like a second-tier holiday crowd. I think that Thanksgiving weekend may be a little bit more crowded than others, because I think a lot of people feel that that's when the Christmas lights go up, and they want to be the first to see the lights. They want to see the Osborne lights, and they want to do Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, and they want to do that. I think that, however, I don't think that Thanksgiving is that crowded compared to the other holidays. But again, it's still going to be somewhat crowded, because a lot of people will say, well, let's fly down Wednesday night and we'll come back Sunday night. We'll go down for 3 or 4 days. So I think that it's one of those times of the year where people will just go down for like 4 days, but it seems like everybody will go down at the same time. But again, I don't think it's as crowded as Christmas or New Year's or July 4th or Easter.
Yeah,
any of those.
For sure. I mean, there are other options the last week in May. And really, one thing that really jumps out in mind, the last week in May is pretty crowded. You're talking Memorial Day weekend, and certainly, Newell, you can speak to your experience at Memorial Day weekend at Walt Disney World, as you were just there this past year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't terrible crowds, but of course, it was kind of hot out.
Oh, yeah. Well, June always seems to be hot, whereas August is hot, humid. You know, right. June is just downright hot.
Yeah. So, I mean, Thanksgiving is going to be, I mean, that's the last weekend in November typically. So that's going to be pretty nice temperatures there. You know what? I would probably tell you to go Thanksgiving week, and rather than the last week in May, because you're going to get better temperatures. You're still going to have, I would say, the crowd difference, I think, will be negligible, and you get better weather.
And if they can back their trip up into mid-November and go to Thanksgiving, isn't it pretty dead in mid-November?
Oh, sure. Oh yeah, and don't forget also, if you're going November, or for Thanksgiving rather, they'll be able to see the Christmas stuff will be up by then. Jennifer has one last question. Finally, since I know at least a few of you are avid runners like myself, when we go this fall, I will be about 4 weeks out from a full marathon. Any good long run routes you'd recommend? What do you think about Fort Wilderness?
Fort Wilderness is pretty good. I stayed 1 year, 1997, I think it was, and I ran from the Wilderness Lodge to behind the Magic Kingdom to where they keep the monorails, and I ran back, to the lodge, and I kept on running. I ran down to Pioneer Hall, and I ran back to the lodge. It was about a 7-mile run. I think what you want to do is you want to be careful because there's always traffic going on. Almost round the clock down there, so you have to be very careful. If you can, my suggestion would be to stick to your resort, go to the front desk, ask for a running path or a jogging trail map, and I think that most people will find that they'll just have to do like 2 or 3 laps. One
around
place
the beach club too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Around the beach club, boardwalk and down to the studios and back up. That's a nice loop too.
That's probably the best one. Michelle's got a good point there. Running from there to the studios and back. Probably maybe a 5-mile run. I think maybe 6.
Is this the fish fillet song?
No, that's the
Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, okay. It sounds like.
Pie.
Anyway, next email is from Barry Labs of Kenosha, Wisconsin. You guys recall the other week we had that question about proposing during wishes, and we had terrible answers for that person. Barry writes, though, I was listening to the show, and I thought I would share my proposal with the listener who wanted to propose to his girlfriend during wishes. What I did was propose right before wishes started at the California Grill. I had made an ADR there with the intent of doing my own proposal during the show. But when I called the manager directly at the restaurant, she told me what they do specially for proposals. What they do was bring out a covered platter after our dinner. My wife, girlfriend at the time, thought that they were just getting out a cake for dessert. So when the waiter removed the cover, what was on the plate was a glass slipper engraved with our names and the date, strawberries, and written in chocolate on the plate was, "Will you marry me?" The staff and the manager made sure to work with me on our ADR time, and so it worked out perfectly to bring out the tray about 5 minutes before the show was about to start, so it made it seem like the fireworks were a celebration of her saying yes.
Wow.
Aww.
nice.
Much better than our answers. Thank you, Barry, for sharing that. Next email is from James, who writes, my main question is regards to the pending Space Mountain refurb redo. I would like to know what you, quote, insiders, have heard about the extent of the changes, if any, and most importantly, are the Imagineers going to make it dark in the mountain again? So dark so the track is invisible and the illusion that you are drifting through space is maintained. Well, I wish we had some insiders on.
Yeah, we don't have anybody who would know anything about that. So.
It's true, but we can speculate as well as anyone else.
Well, let's speculate. From what I understand, it will be very close, if not similar, to what's out there in Disneyland. I have heard that there is going to be a new sound system that will be placed on the ride vehicles, and perhaps even new ride vehicles. And because of the sound system being as complex as it is, it's probably making the ride vehicles a little heavier than the ones that are already being used. Therefore, the track needs to be fortified. I don't know if there are any other things going on besides adding music. I don't know what they're going to do with the inside, if they're going to make it darker, if they're going to have strobe lights going on. That I don't know. Most of the information that I've been receiving is involved around the ride vehicles. So that's all I know.
Well, see, not that I know anything more than you, Mike, but I've heard the exact opposite. I just heard they were just, just cleaning everything up, making it nice again, but it's the same basic ride, not the Disneyland refurb. But
wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, all I can tell you is that I'm pretty sure that at the Year of a Million Dreams announcement that Jay Rizzullo talked about Walt Disney World Space Mountain as turning into Rock and Roll Mountain, no, Rock and Space
Mountain.
Right. So that's what I've heard personally from Jay Rizzullo.
James writes, my secondary question has to do with the Disney's potential response to the round 2 of the coaster wars between the Orlando parks. The last time Universal Studios and Walt Disney World knocked heads, we got Kraken, Hulk, Dueling Dragons, Rock and Roller Coaster, and a few years later, Expedition Everest, the best of the bunch. That's his words. This year, Universal Studios is adding Hollywood Rip Ride and Rocket, and SeaWorld is adding Manta, both looking to be feature attractions at their respective parks. I know Disney's not about rides, but about experiences, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way, but what rumors have you heard about Disney's themed coaster response, if any? I don't think that people always say, what about this? What about Harry Potter World? You got to understand something about Disney World. They are, if you're looking at a ladder, Disney World is a couple steps up on the competition in terms of attendance and how they're performing. So if you're on the top shelf right now and Universal is and SeaWorld are on different shelves below that based on attendance and revenue and all that good stuff, I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to respond to them. They're not an equal leveling. I think when we were talking earlier about those other, Kraken, Hulk, and Dueling Dragons, all those rides, I think we were talking more about a time where there was more a parity between the parks. But really, in recent years, I mean, Universal and SeaWorld have been struggling compared to Disney. So I don't see that Disney has to respond to them until they prove to be more of a threat than they currently are. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I think you're right, Matt. I think if you're the leader, I think there are two things. Number one, you always need to be sure that you're not complacent with your position. I think you always need to be looking to push the envelope, be the pioneer, be willing to take a risk. On the other hand, you need to also sometimes sit back and take your time, make sure that you don't make any mistakes, that you don't slip, because sometimes you can be a little premature in your design and things may not work out right, such as Stitch, Yeah. But I think that Disney does not sit on its laurels. I think that it's always looking to keep that one step ahead of its competition.
Yeah, I mean, if Len was here, he would bring up the point that this is like the one time in the recent history that I think we can't recall a time elsewhere where we don't really have a major project looming on the horizon like we've had in the past few years. But I think Disney has done a lot in the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, going back really to 2005 with the 50th celebration, they put out so much. So, they've done a lot. So I think you're right, Mike. I mean, I think they're okay with what they've got right now, but they're definitely not going to just say, well, we're good enough for now for the next 20 years or anything like that. I think they're.
And they also, and they also want to be very careful that one thing that sets Disney apart from Universal Studios and all these other theme parks is that they make sure that when they put an attraction together that it tells a story. Yep. They're storytellers. You just don't throw a track up there with a high-speed roller coaster and expect that it's going to propel you to the front of the line as far as roller coaster people. It's the storytelling that really makes the difference.
Yep. Next email is from Tim from Northampton, Massachusetts, who writes, "Hi guys, I'm a relatively new listener to the podcast and have been enjoying the new episodes and the backlog on my drive to work. I have a question I thought I would send your way. I'm going to be in the Fort Myers area in September. I'll be traveling alone on this trip, and after the weekend activities are through, I'm highly considering driving up to Disney for a few days midweek. However, I've only been to Disney in the past with groups of 4 or 6, and while I have my favorite spots and know I can certainly enjoy myself, I was wondering if you could all make some recommendations for a solo traveler based on your experiences. I'm particularly interested in any ideas that you may have for activities off the beaten path that might be more suited for an enthusiastic Disney World fan than just a more casual group of park goers. Thanks, keep up the good work." I think maybe a tour would really work to his benefit if that's what he's concerned about, kind of easing into the solo thing. Mike Newell, you've done the Segway tour at Fort Wilderness.
Yes.
And, you would have no reservations telling someone solo to go join in on that, right?
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's one of the cool things about it, because you're on it solo anyway. It's not like you can go with somebody and drive together. So it's something you do solo anyway.
Right.
And I did the one at Epcot, and I think you could easily do that solo.
I totally
Same
agree.
thing.
Yep.
Cool. So try that one out.
And you get to meet some nice people. So even if you are solo, by the time you're done with it, you're all like one big happy family. Really? Because it's true. Because you go through all the training, and everyone is not comfortable at first, and everybody's a group.
And you run into each other and knock each other over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great idea. I mean, there's lots of great. I mean, I think the tours would really work well. There's, speaking of things that you have to do by yourself, even if you were with a group, the horseback riding at Fort Wilderness. You have to go obviously one-on-one, so that's kind of a fun little thing to do if you're going to be there anyway. For the Segway tour, you may as well. You're already there.
I also did the Keys to the Kingdom, and by the time we sat down for lunch, everybody knew each other, and it was great. I was by myself on that one.
Cool. Next email is from Joan DeGenero, who writes, "Hello. On our last trip in December 2007, the guide on the Magical Express bus told us," here comes, that when you purchase the refillable mugs, that you are able to reuse them visit after visit, even if you stayed at a different Disney resort from where you originally purchased the mug. We witnessed this at Caribbean Beach Resort where other guests were using Fort Wilderness mugs. This was a huge selling feature for us in the purchasing of these mugs. Now, after listening to your show, I'm not sure if this is in fact not what Disney intended for them, even though their own Magical Express cast member told a bus full of people about this. So using the refillable mugs on many trips at different resorts.
They're different colors for different resorts, right?
Right.
I mean, when you get it at Pop Century, it's a different one than you get. I was at Saratoga Springs in May, and I noticed it was a different color. I always get a new one. I just think it's fair. I feel like I get $11 worth when I'm there and have a nice mug when I come home, and I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm with Michelle on that. You know, I mean, how much does soda really cost? When you think about it, I mean, come on.
I always see, you know, the truth is, I mean, to kind of give a different slant on it, what I always do when I'm at, you know, soda costs like $3 or whatever it is over there in the parks. I mean, I use it as a good excuse to kind of kick the habit a little bit and drink water on that trip. I feel better about it because Lord knows I don't eat healthy when I'm at the parks, but at least I can drink water when I'm there and save a few bucks on the beverages. So that can be something. But otherwise, I mean, you can bring your own soda, don't forget. There's nothing prohibiting you from doing that. I mean, you know, get a refrigerator, or if you're in a moderate resort or higher, you'll get one automatically.
If I want soda that bad, that's what I usually do.
Yeah, bring in a 6-pack. You'll save a lot of money that way.
Or go to the Hess Express. It's much cheaper at the Hess Express.
Well, another way to think about this, too, is if you go to Typhoon Lagoon and you bring back a mug that you had before, you have to buy a new barcode, right? Right. You're not supposed to be using the same barcode. So to me, that the message is you're supposed to buy it again.
Yep. Next email is from Paul Thorpe who writes, he's a happy, thankful podcast listener in Wigan, England. Writes, good day, gentlemen. That's where Roddick lives. Good day, gentlemen, Annette, and special guests if you have some. Yeah, it's you, Michelle.
Hey, thank you.
Many thanks for hours of listening pleasure. 2 quick questions which you can hopefully use. One I hope Len can answer, and one for Jurassic Mike Scopa. We'll skip Len's question for right now, but Scopa, when they eventually build a legendary user at Pop Century, will the naughties? What are naughties?
Naughties.
The zeros.
Noughties.
Zeros.
Oh, zero.
0 years. 0 to 9. The knots.
Okay.
So
word for the day.
Mike's time. I'm going to start calling you Naughty Mike.
Anyway, will the naughties refer to the 1900s as originally planned, or do you think they might update them and base it around the most recent decades when they eventually get actually built? Special offers would seem to indicate demand is down and therefore no need to add to capacity in the near future. What do you think, Mike?
I don't know what's going to happen, Matt. I don't know if they're going to go to stick with the legendary years, or as we have heard, they were going to rename part of the resort. I forget what it was called, but something to do with animation. So there's all kinds of speculation. One of the things that we know for sure is that Disney has all the right in the world to change its mind up until the last day. So what I'm doing is I'm sticking with the 90s. I'm not the 90s, the 90s. I'm sticking with the legendary years for this next phase. I think it's going to be the legendary years. Until I hear otherwise, I'm sticking with that.
Okay. He writes, Paul adds, P.S. If any of you are there when we are, I'll shout out a Dole Whip as thanks for the laughs if the exchange rate doesn't cripple me.
Yeah.
Actually, his question about Len isn't really necessarily any of us can answer it, I think. He writes, is there any data that will reflect the performance of the Disney transportation buses from season to season? We used them fairly recently in September 2003 based out of All-Star Movies. We enhanced the service by deciding which parks to visit based on whatever bus was about to depart the resort where we could. No waiting. As others have done, we have also caught the first bus back to any All-Stars and walked, which helped. We stayed off-property on iDrive in September 2005, and all the advice about bus services from these hotels rings true. We wasted hours. The cash saved simply isn't worth it. We will definitely be back on property on our next trip. I don't fancy driving on the wrong side of the road, so I'm looking for some advice on how the Disney bus service will likely compare to the service we had in 2003. I think, guys, wouldn't you agree that, I mean, there are certain resorts that are better than others in terms of buses, and that's simply because of the size of the resorts that you're dealing with. Like, the ones that come to mind are Saratoga Springs, Fort Wilderness, those types of resorts.
I think Port Orleans, French Quarter is pretty good, too.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with how the resort is designed. I think that there are a lot of people who don't particularly like the Caribbean Beach Resort because of the way the villages are distributed out there and the way that the buses run there. And I think the same can be said for probably Coronado Springs. I think it depends a lot on the resort. It depends upon how it's spread out. It depends upon how the buses exit and enter those resorts, and that's an issue because for some people they have to walk a mile to get to the bus, and for others they prefer to have their bus as close to their room as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also something to keep in mind. I mean, you do your research on which resorts have better bus service if that's important to you. That's an important factor, and that can really help make your trips. I mean, certainly avoid a resort like Saratoga Springs, for instance, because it historically has not that great bus service relative to the other.
That's right.
Next email is from Doug from South Carolina. All right, hi, Matt, Mike, and Len, and the wonderful gal from North Carolina, if she's present. I'm hoping that all of you are there today to answer my question because I truly want all of your opinions. Seems like no matter what shoe I wear at Disney, I always end up getting the sore feet by the end of the day. So my question is this. What tennis shoe, sandal, flip-flop, or other type of footwear do you guys wear in the parks, or would you recommend to be worn in the parks? How do you keep your feet as comfortable as possible? I would like to know brands, styles, and other distinguishing facts about the footwear that might be pertinent.
Wow.
Such an individual thing, I think.
Yeah, I just think, for me, it's always been a well-broken-in pair of shoes. I would never wear any shoe that I hadn't worn a lot before, you know what I mean? To the point where it's just like, oh, it's that pair of shoes. Not like I would never wear new shoes. Sometimes I see women wearing high heels. I have no idea how they do it. Or, or stiletto sandals or something like that. It just it seems to me they're just torturing themselves. But to me, it's always a comfortable shoe. Mike, what about you?
Well, for those of us who run a lot, we have about 4 or 5 dozen pairs of running shoes in different states. So after I've got about 100 or maybe 200 miles on a running shoe, that becomes my walking shoe, and it's broken in, it's comfortable. My feet and the shoe have met, and they've been acquainted with each other, so I never have any issues as long as I stick to the same shoe. And if Doug, for your interest, I use Asics GT 2100 series running shoes, and they've been good to me for the last 10 years.
I know one thing
I use my running shoes too, and I use Asics as well.
I know that one thing that Len recommends in the book is if you're having those problems, I would really recommend, and I think it's a good idea, to go do some walking, a long-distance walking before your trip. Like in the couple weeks leading up to it, do a lot of walking around your neighborhood just to get your feet back into the idea of, for lack of a better phrase, getting in shape. You know what I mean? Getting your feet ready for what's going to come rather than just throwing them into the fire when you get down there and walking, a bunch of miles after not doing that perhaps for a long time. That might help your situation a little bit also.
And I always get my Disney blisters, and I know exactly where they're going to be on my feet, and I carry Band-Aids with me. It's the only time I get them. I run all the time. I never get blisters, but I just carry Band-Aids and make sure that you have them there available because you're going to be walking miles and miles.
I know that Newell's strategy is just forget it, go back to the All-Star Vacation Home, and relax by the pool.
That's right. I put my feet in the hot tub.
That would explain a few things about the hot tub. Next email of the day is from Kevin from Atlanta, who writes, I was just at the studios on the 28th of January, but you can insert another month here. Okay, we'll put in May. For park opening, I noticed while waiting in line, a sign to the far right-hand side of the entrance labeled Guest and Cast Member Entrance. Underneath it, it's a Disney's electronic ticket. Is this some kind of new ticketing system that they're testing? It's actually, Annette actually asked me about this a couple months ago now, and I looked into it. I talked to the cast members. It's basically the cast members themselves have special tickets that they can get for themselves and for their families and friends to bring in. It's for cast members, basically. It doesn't really have anything to do with regular park guests. So not to be worried. There's not a change afoot without you knowing about it. Next email is from Dan Cicernos of Las Cruces, New Mexico. And New Mexico's got the best chili ever. Writes, hi guys, glad I found you. I loaded my iPod and listen to you guys every day at work. My question is this. We're going to Walt Disney World for the second time ever. Went back in 1994. Anyway, second trip to Walt Disney World, and we're staying at Port Orleans Riverside. We'd like to spend some time visiting the other resorts and maybe eat at some of them. Do you need to get a rental car or taxi for that? Or can you use Disney transportation buses for such visits? For instance, Port Orleans to Contemporary and back, Port Orleans to Wilderness Lodge and back. Have you ever tried it? What do you think?
The bus routes are always changing down there. I think you can go from Fort Wilderness to the Wilderness Lodge on a bus. Yeah. But I don't know of any other resort to resort bus route.
No, you're going to have to you're going to have to transfer at one of the parks, basically.
Or downtown Disney or
downtown Disney,
or the TTC.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of various options. Like if you're staying at, let's say, at Old Key West, you could take the boat to Port Orleans, or Port Orleans to the boat to Old Key West, or Port Orleans to Saratoga Springs if you're eating there. If you're at the what I would do, Dan, in all honesty, is plan your dining around your park day. So if you're going to be at the Magic Kingdom, that'd be a great day for you to go have a meal at Whispering Canyon. Likewise, if you're going to be at the studios and you want to eat on the boardwalk, or Epcot, obviously, you plan your days around that. And that way you don't have to really just go completely out of your way. At least it'll be somewhat in the ballpark, so to speak.
One more thing, Matt. I think it never hurts to go to the front desk at whichever resort that you're at and ask if they have a bus schedule that you could use.
That's a great idea. Mike Newell, I think it's time for our last question of the day, right?
Just about.
All right, well, it's time for our last question of the day, and that means I'm going to give Mike Newell 3 email options, and he's going to choose one of them. The other 2 will be read at a later show. Mike, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right. Hey, guys, some good options for you today here, Mike. First option is Once Upon a Potty Break. Second option is Matt would be deported from Norway. And third option is Florida Sun Pass info.
Ooh. I'm going to have to try the Sun Pass info.
All right. You never go for the funny ones.
Well, yeah. I know what the Norway one is.
Anyway.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Last email today is from Tim. Tim appreciates it, though, Mike. Last email today is from Tim Sampson of Dania Beach, Florida. His username is Tim Sampson. Hoorah! All right, so hey guys, this isn't a question per se, but a travel tip, as I thought you would be useful for some of the listeners. As a Florida resident, I use the Sun Pass all the time for toll roads and receive this info in the latest Sun Pass newsletter. And it's titled Using Rental Cars in Sun Pass Lanes. Enjoy the convenience of Sun Pass only lanes when renting a car, even without your Sun Pass transponder. When renting a vehicle, just ask your rental car agency about electronic tolling. Many rental agencies use license plate recognition systems which allow rental car customers to use the SunPass-only lanes to bypass congestion and traffic. Participating rental car companies include Advantage, Avis, Budget, Dollar, Global, Hertz, Sunshine, and Thrifty Car Rental. So the next time you, a friend, or family member are renting a car in Florida, remember to ask about SunPass. Tim writes, still enjoying your shows now as much as when the episodes were in double digits, single digits, not so much. LOL. Keep up the great work. It's a great tip there, Tim. I think the only thing that I would caution you about is make sure they don't charge you extra for them. I know that when I rent cars in the Northeast, they have Easy Pass up there, and they'll allow you to use the Easy Pass lanes there, but they'll charge you like a per day charge to use it, which I think is dumb. It's not like really how much cost is it to the rental car company. So you just want to make sure they're not going to charge you per day for that. Otherwise, I would just say get your own Sun Pass and just keep bringing it with you, and that's what I do. Newell, did you ever do that, or am I thinking of someone else?
Nah, I meant to, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, just you got to do that, Mike.
Yeah, I keep meaning
Although
to.
We got to share that story when I first got mine before I moved down here.
Oh yeah,
we were on the Mike and I went to the
cruise. We went away to
cruise, right? And we're back from the cruise, so we went to go drop the car off at the airport, because we wanted to go from the airport. I don't know, we were at the airport for something, returning the car, and I had my Sun Pass, and I totally forgot the Sun Pass in the car. And we already returned the car, and I think we just walked into the airport, and it hit me. I said, "Oh my god, I forgot the Sun Pass." And luckily, the car had left already, but they were able to call the car back before it went into central processing, where then it gets lost in a maze that looks like the end of the Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. So just make sure you remember it. It's always helpful.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, of course, this episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And while I might forget my Sun Pass, the travel agents at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel will make very certain that they don't forget about you, and making sure that your trip to Walt Disney World is going to be that much more special. If you're planning perhaps to propose to your girlfriend and want a really good idea that we can't provide, you know what? They probably can. They got a lot of great gals over there who just always think these kinds of things up. And I bet you they're already emailing Annette with some ideas as we speak. That's how they work over there. But lots of other great tips. If you need any kind of trip planning for them, they're the people to talk to. Their website, again, is www.mousefantravel.com. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Lantesta, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, and of course, the senior writer, Michelle Scribner-McLean, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Did you say gals?
I did.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.